My discovery of what I call Paleo Story Stone face and Mammoth Effigies in October of 2020 have had a big impact on the disciplines of archaeology, anthropology, geology, and paleontology. And as these disciplines are learning about these wonderful effigies, it will change their views, their ideas, and thoughts about their discipline. It'll give them new insight as to certain geological situations. For example, these are a grouping of nickel-iron meteorites from Sikhote-Alin strewn field in Russia. These were acquired through a meteorite dealer, in fact, a very well-known meteorite dealer, very well-respected meteorite dealer, who didn't have any idea, of course, that these were effigies. He just sold them to me as meteorites. And they're nickel iron. Probably most nickel iron meteorites found around the world are actually Paleo Story Stone face and Mammoth effigies. Diablo Canyon, Arizona, the strewn field at Campo de Celio in Argentina, the Gebel Camil strewn field in Egypt, and this strewn field, which happens to be in Russia. All have wonderfully carved and etched Paleo Story Stone effigies. This metal is very pliable. It's nickel iron, so it's very soft and very pliable, certainly compared to flint or agate or chert, which would be more of a hardness of 6 to 7 on the Mohs scale, whereas this is probably about 5 on the Mohs scale. So it's very soft metal, very easily worked. And what we have here is a gray. Oh, and then the edges of these are smooth. In other words, in order to make the contour to show the imagery of the mammoths and the faces, they had to contour the edges. And you can see how that folds over onto the surface right there. Well, the geologists didn't know how to explain the smooth edges of these meteorites, so they invented a term called rollover melt. Well, there's no such thing as rollover melt. These edges were formed by our Paleo-Indian ancestors, and that's how they got smooth like that in making these effigies. So geology is learning more and more about this now, and we'll come to the realization that rollover melt was a convenient term to try to explain the smooth edges, but we can see that they're actually worked edges, and our Paleo-Indians work these. What we have is a great mammoth image here facing off to the right. This is the eye that's been gouged out. This is the hair tuft above the head. It's got a little bit of a tusk there. It's got a rear leg and front leg, and got a face looking off from the back. That's the eye, and you can see the nose has been worked looking off from the back of the mammoth. These are all original meteorites, just as they were taken out of the ground. There's no modern workmanship on them whatsoever. They're all well patinated, and I acquired them from a meteorite dealer who had acquired these from a collection in Russia, because that's where these actually come from. And then we have the baby mammoth image right here. That eye has been worked, and that's the baby beak-like trunk facing off to the left. So just a fantastic image there of a baby mammoth. And then when we hold it this way, now we have a face of a young person with the upturned nose facing off to the left. And we have a face with the eye and the big rounded nose down here and open mouth of an older face looking off to the right. And then when we hold it this way, many of these are etched for the hair of the mammoth and the hair of the faces. These nickel iron meteorites from Russia, a lot of them are heavily etched. The ones from the Gebel Camil strewn field in Egypt are beautifully etched, quite frankly, and beautifully worked. Now we have the mammoth, the mature mammoth with its trunk here facing off to the left. And we have the baby mammoth now with his little appendage trunk facing off to the right. And then we have Good facial imagery here. We have, oh yes, excellent, the eye and the nose of the younger face facing off to the right, and the hook-nosed face, older face, looking off to the left. Just a fantastic effigy. Then we have this wonderful piece here with the trunk actually kind of carved into this one. That's the big sweeping trunk of the mature mammoth facing off to the right. And this does stand upright. Many of them are made that way. And then when we hold it this way, now we have the small beak-like trunk of the baby mammoth right here. And then we have its massive hair tuft above the head. The baby mammoth is always depicted with a massive hair tuft compared to the mature mammoth. When we turn it over this way, now we have another great mammoth image of the mature mammoth with its trunk coming off to the left. That's a great image of a mature mammoth right there. And then when we hold it this way, that's the small beak of a trunk of the baby mammoth now looking off to the right. And this one was made to stand upright. Then when we look at this one, now we have, and a lot of these are etched from this Sikhote-Alin strewn field in Russia. Many of these are etched. In fact, a lot of them. Now we have the great mammoth here with his big sweeping trunk looking off to the left. And we turn it this way, we have the little beak of a trunk down here sweeping off to the right with a massive hair tuft. And we have another face looking up from the back, eye, nose, and mouth. And these are beautifully worked around the perimeter to make the imagery. And again, that was called rollover melt before, but now we understand that that's not rollover melt. That this was made that way by our paleo ancestors. Now we have the baby mammoth with its eye here and its little trunk over here, facing off to the right. And we have the mature mammoth with its eye gouged out here, beautifully worked, and its big sweeping trunk looking off to the left. And we see some great facial imagery here too. Wow, that is great. That's the old face with the eye gouged out and the mouth gouged out down here. It's triangulated, and the open mouth, the nose and the open mouth. That's a great image of a face. Eye, mouth that's been triangulated there, or nose that has been in the mouth below. And then we have the young face with the more pointed nose looking off to the right. Just another great example. Then we have this piece here, which is a mammoth facing left. That would be the baby mammoth with his little beak of a trunk here and massive hair tuft above the head. We have another face looking off from the back of the mammoth. When we hold it this way, now we have the mature mammoth now facing off to the right with the big sweepy trunk. We turn this over. We have the mature mammoth now facing left. And we have the massive hair tuft and the little beak of the baby mammoth now facing off to the right. When we look at this one here, now we have the beak or little trunk of the baby mammoth facing off to the right, and that's its trunk in the lower right. This has been beautifully etched as well and beautifully worked. And then when we turn it this way, now we have that as the hair tuft of the mature mammoth with its big sweepy trunk that's carved in there. That trunk has all been carved in there to the left. That's a great mammoth image right there. And then when we turn it this way, we have the mature mammoth again with the eye and the big sweepy trunk and the hair tuft above the head, facing right. And then when we look at it this way, now we have the baby mammoth with his little beak facing off to the left. And then this piece right here is very interesting. These were all made in paleo times. They're all well patinated, and I purchased them from the Meteorite dealer just the way they are. And he didn't recognize that these were worked in any way, shape, or form. So he didn't even know that they were artifacts. In fact, most Meteorite dealers do not know that yet. but they will learn more about it as time goes on. I'm going to be doing a lot of meteorite videos from Campo de Celio strewn field, from Canyon Diablo strewn field in Arizona, Meteor Crater, also from the Gabel Camille strewn field. In fact, I have a wonderfully etched Gabel Camille strewn field nickel iron meteorite that's palm sized, that's already featured in a video on my YouTube channel and also on my webpage. This is another great mammoth now facing off to the right. We have the rear leg, the front leg, the big head, the hair tuft above the head. That's facing off to the right. That's been heavily worked. You can see all the tooling marks. Now, those are all ancient paleo tooling marks. That just goes to show you how sophisticated these folks were. I think we've underestimated them over a period of time. And now we have the mature mammoth with his big draping trunk, and now these are become the tusks. These become the tusks of the mature mammoth facing off to the left. And what great workmanship on this. And then when we turn it this way, oh my God, there's the eye of the younger face with the pointed nose and the mouth looking off to the right. And then we have the older face with the bigger nose, bigger droopy nose and mouth looking off to the left. This would be the eye of the face here, of the older face looking off to the left. And that can also be the eye right there of the younger face looking off to the right. And then when we hold it this way, now we have the great mammoth image again here looking off to the left. And we have the mature mammoth image now looking off to the right with the hair tuft and the big trunk. And then you see that hair tuft has all been etched up there. That's all been etched. And then we have the faces there as well, with the eye, the nose, and the mouth of the younger face looking off to the left, and the eye and big sweepy nose of the older face looking off to the right. And last but not least, this one is made to stand upright as well. We have a great mammoth image right there, and another great mammoth image this way. Now that's the mature mammoth there with his hair tuft above the head and big sweepy trunk. That's been etched beautifully in paleo times. So a lot of these nickel iron meteorites are actually etched for the hair of the mammoth and the hair of the faces. That's the mature mammoth facing left. That's the baby mammoth with his little appendage trunk down in the lower right with its massive hair tuft. It's all been engraved up there on top, its head. When we turn it over this way, now we've got that baby mammoth with his little appendage trunk facing off to the left. We hold it this way, now we have a great mature mammoth image facing off to the right. So I just wanted to share with you some of the nickel iron meteorites that come from the Sikhote-Alin strewn field in Russia, that are beautifully, beautifully contoured around the perimeter and beautifully gouged and etched to form the imagery of these wonderful Paleo Story Stone face and mammoth effigies.